Recently in Albion Online, I set the very prestigious goal to become the #1 ranked gather on the entire Americas server. But with only 18,716,314 fame, putting me squarely at rank 8,207, I realized I have quite a long ways to go. So, in the meantime, I'm working on getting both my tier 7 and tier 8 spec to max level. And I went to the best place I know how to do that, which is the Roads of Avalon. Now, not only will the Roads of Avalon give me some of the most abundant access to tier 7 and some tier 8 materials, but it also gives me a reliably consistent access to enchanted mists, which will bring me in those tier 8 resources. So right out the gate, I found a hideout zone with a tier 6, or not a tier 6, a tier 8 portal. So that is going to be my straight shot, skipping over all the zones here, going right there. Armed with not only my full set of tier 8 tools, my pork pies, but also tier 8 gather potions, and the Easter event's chocolate eggs to boost my fame by 15%, I think we're going to see some good progress coming up. Now, as I'm pulling up on this golden portal, I did notice that it has been used twice, which typically tells me that there are other gatherers in here. A 2-man group or 2 individuals going through this portal usually signifies that it's a gatherer. With just a big hide spot, there's only one place to really go. As I'm moving through this tier 8 hide spot, I do fear that I was correct. Seeing both adamantium nodes taken is not necessarily a great starting sign. The one time I need the skinning chestplate, but even then, I'm not entirely sure I'd be able to take it on. You see, 2-sword elementals like this, the ancient large mist cougar, those are designed to be done by a group. As you can see, it looks like one may have failed doing it before. Cats tend to be easier because the skinning jacket does provide a poison debuff, but at tier 7, I'm just not sure it'd be enough to solo. With no other elementals or aspects visible in the area, my only choice is to move on to another zone and mark this as a monumental waste of time. Not a great start. But before I do fully pull away, we found this 6.1 stone, which may not hold much in value, but 6.1 will give me a decent amount of fame. With all portals available having some number of charges already been used, I decided to just go to this northernmost point. But I'm taking the off-road for the chance that I will come across an enchanted mob on my way there. We already found 6.1 stone. I have to believe that there's something better out here. That guy could be a serious problem, so I need to move quickly. Armed with a Grail Seeker, he's perfectly equipped to stun lock me, so that way I can be shredded down by all of his friends. Along with Hellfire Pots, this is not a position I want to be in. As I expected, it was an ambush, but I did manage to survive. Now, if only I can just get through to the next portal. Such a shame passing up 6.2 hide. Now, thankfully, boars have defensive stats attached to them, which makes them ideal for running Roads of Avalon. If I was on anything else, I would have been knocked off my mount completely. And with no real escape abilities, that would have spelled certain death for me. Despite with what looked like another scout at the entrance to that portal, I'm still going to go for the gathering spots here. I'm just going to have to hope that they don't follow. It looks like somebody just didn't get their cub, and so they left this. Their loss, our gain. Definitely a ganker. I need to be careful. And with limited exits, my best bet may be the western end here. Now, that being said, there is quite a lot of free skin that I don't necessarily want to leave behind. This will bring us in quite a nice value, as well as good fame. Since I don't necessarily need that W ability, because I'm not going to fight right now, my best bet is Battle Rush for an escape. Also, by repeatedly mounting and dismounting during my gathering process, I'm able to tell if there's anybody in my vicinity that's invisible, as even dismounting near an invisible player will trigger some form of warning. While I was gathering that, I did notice that this blue core started to move, and the only way that it can go is either into here or into here. So northwest or northeast or central. Luckily for me, I'm not near either of those. And it looks like that dagger individual did not return to try to get me. Which is good, because this is exactly what I need, as this tick will likely level me up to the next level of tier 7. As much as I want my tier 7 and my tier 8 specs to become level 100 out of 100, I do also have to admit that I've neglected tiers 4 and 5. So while this may not be the most value, and it's not bringing me in the most fame to level my rankings, this is developing my tier 5 skinning quite a bit. Unfortunately, one of the entrances, Sound Mountain Desert, is too far from where my guild is located to be able to provide any level of assistance. And the other location, Windgrass Fields, is just as far. Both being positioned right next to the Martlock portal. So unfortunately, it does seem like I'm gonna have to let this giant lizard go. I just skinned this, and now there was a second one. It is a damn shame. But I'm a big believer in the answer is always no if you don't ask. So let me see if I can summon my guild. Now, with the question out into guild chat, all I can do is wait. Lucky for me, though, I have plenty of things to gather in the meantime. And that brought me in another 76,000. But if I remember correctly, there's another T7 bore body around here. And before I can check the outer ring of this zone, I found an enchanted wisp. With any luck, this will lead me into a tier 7 mist, and I won't die in this one, which will be very nice. Unfortunately for me, it looks like nobody that online in my guild right now is interested in that aspect. But luckily for me, it did in fact bring me to a tier 7 mist. Now, despite its clear abundance of nodes, the strategy for mists is to find aspects, or I mean the mobs, that is, as well as enchanted nodes. And since I'm looking for fame, I might as well take on this 6-1 stone again. That is another gatherer, and based on his gear, if he becomes a problem, I'll be able to take him out. One thing to keep in mind when you're in the mist, and especially when you're fighting these bears, despite being tier 7, do have a chance to drop the tier 8 bear cub. Now, it's extremely, extremely rare, but never give up hope. Now, a surefire way to tell if there is some manner of PvPer, or at least non-gatherer, in a mist, if you find a weakened wisp in one of your mists, keep an eye on it, because if it's picked up by somebody, it will disappear off the map. Typically, gatherers avoid that, so if you do end up seeing it disappear, that's a pretty good tell that there is a non-gatherer. And if they're non-gatherers, they're, well, PvPers. They're gankers. They're gonna kill you. Or at least try to. Now, thankfully, this mist is supplying me with an ample supply of tier 7 wood, as well as not a bad amount of tier 7 skin. Mounted on a tier 7 lizard tells me that that is definitely another gatherer. Now, while I may not have grabbed T6 skin all by itself, coupled with this T7 stone, definitely makes the double pull worth it. And thankfully, I'm strong enough to 2v1 mobs like this. With that swordsman running by, it definitely, yes, definitely tells me he may want to fight, so keeping an eye out on him. As suspected. With the exit right next to me, but no sign of him pursuing me, I don't necessarily have to leave this mist, but I do have to exercise an increased amount of caution. And with our first pie of the session about to expire in less than 4 minutes, I'm pretty confident in saying in a 30-minute run, we were able to pull in over $1 million in silver. And since these runs are an hour long, we're looking at well over $1 million. If the rate can hold, even $2 million. Now, after evading that swordsman, I definitely do want to go back and see if I can get that tier 7 fiber. It seems like that won't be an option. With the close of this mist coming up, I have multiple options. I can go back to the same road that I just left. I can look for another enchanted wisp within this mist, or I could take the Brazilian portal and take the random Roads of Avalon generator out of the city. Based on my exit options from the road I just came in from, I think I'm more inclined to take the Brazilian portal back. But first, let's see if we can find a enchanted mist to take us deeper. This is the exact type of node that I'm looking for. But with that swordsman nearby, I have to keep an eye out for an ambush. With less than 45 seconds remaining on this mist, and not an enchanted wisp in sight, I've made the decision to go back through the Brazilian portal and take the random Roads of Avalon portal. That way, hopefully, we can get another strong Roads. At the same time, both my pie and my fame-boosting chocolate egg have expired, so it'll give me the opportunity to reset both of those. Now, with both my pie and my fame-boosting egg reset, let's go back into the roads and hope that we get a better zone. And not bad. It dropped us into a hideout zone with a gold portal. Given my positioning, I'm going to run through the large wood area and see what we can find there. Unfortunately, as I'm approaching the wood area, I notice that a blue core has just entered the zone. Let's just hope I'm able to avoid it. Seems like it's heading north. Lucky for me, north is the opposite of where I'm at right now. even just the one T7 elemental is a very good sign. Because that tells me that it's been at least a little while since the last gatherers moved through here. Which gives me hope that the charges used at that golden portal may have been for the people going for that blue core. And hopefully the inlet crowd leaves me alone. Or the Avalon. 5.1 logs, while they may not be the best value, they sure do beat out stone, and that's bringing me in quite a lot of fame. Now that I've taken all the elementals that I could find, I'm going to come back for these tier 6 nodes. Because not only will those get me fame, as we're looking, it'll also fill up these journals for me. And that's just more money in my pocket. But with another gatherer moving by, based on the footsteps of the mount that I heard, I've decided to leave the area. Not because the other gatherer by himself is a threat, but I saw just a catch of his name, and he belongs to the inlet crowd, which has a hideout right here. I don't need him calling for backup saying, hey guys, there's a juicy, fresh, yummy, delicious gatherer for you guys to kill. And just after saying that, here presents a new problem. With only one small gathering spot in the zone and one other portal exit, the odds are not looking good at me stealthily escaping whatever that guy wanted. But I do seem to be faster than him, so I might be able to loop back around. And unfortunately, looping all the way back around was not only unwise, but unprofitable. So now my only course of action is to go to the southern portal to move forward. On my way back to the portal, I was lucky enough to stumble on not 1, but 2 6.1. And with an 8.1 battle axe, 1v3ing these mobs is the easiest thing in the world. Moving into that southern portal brought us into quite an interesting zone. With exits scattered throughout, I have essentially my pick of the litter. So I decided to tackle this small wood spot before going for the 3 fibers. Now this zone is only tier 4, so the hope is that I'll be able to find a tier 4 enchanted or 5 or 6 elementals. Unfortunately for me, anything below an enchanted tier 4 elemental will not be able to take because of my increased carry capacity at this moment. Now that this wood spot is a bust, I'll move on to the 3 fibers. Hopefully they have something worth gathering. And while this first fiber spot does seem to have plenty of nodes, one is being gatekept by a T5 bear. Which, if you've followed any of my content along in the past, you'll know these bears are my sworn nemesis. But since I need the fame, I have to fight them. Luckily, since I've already taken on T5 elementals and gotten their skin, it only adds to the pile. .3 is very nice, if only it was a larger node. With what appears to be no elementals available except for that 4 flat, my last hope is to check this outer perimeter and move on to the smaller one. Now this could provide us with some value and fame, because this will give us tier 5 levels of fame with the quantity of a T4 elemental, which, for those who don't know, is 312 ticks. That being another gatherer, I feel relatively confident that I could take him in a fight. Full gathering gear, an undead cape, and gloves. Now, gloves are definitely a weapon set that I've used in the past as a manner of escape. But in the Roads of Avalon, they just don't put out enough damage to take on higher tier elementals. Which may be what that guy is trying to do. Also, given the clan tag that I saw, he definitely came out of the golden portal zone. My worry coming towards this smaller fiber spot is that this is where he went after he saw my name tag and ran. But it looks like that worry was unfounded. I'll just have to be careful. Again, with no elementals in this zone, my next stop is going to be the nearest portal that will take me either deeper or lead me to an exit, since I have less than 10 minutes left on both my pie and my fame boosting chocolate. Given that that wasn't enchanted before we came in, I'm wondering if enchantment cycles reset. With that idea in my head, I've decided to circle back and check the big fiber spot to see if those unenchanted tier 4 fiber aspects, or elementals I mean, enchanted into something better. The chances are low, but not non-existent. Unfortunately, it seems both stayed the same. So now I have to run to the portal. Lucky, lucky, lucky me. So not only does this have a Brazilian portal, but based on it having that exact Brazilian portal, everything in here, in these spots, is T8. That's incorrect. It has the chance of being T8 without it being a gold portal. So essentially this road operates as a gold portal without it actually being one. So a fantastic find on my part. Unfortunately, there are 2 stone spots, but that means stone and wood, and I wouldn't say no to tier 8 variants of either. Unfortunately for me, it looks like this may have already been worked. Oh, how wrong I was. Or how lucky I was with the respawn. Either way, I'm a winner. It's also very beneficial that we found this because this provides me an easy escape with less than 5% carry weight or carry capacity remaining. In the event of an emergency, I could switch my boots to the carry passive, but I'll want to hold on to the defense bonus as long as possible. From that one golem, I was able to get 275,000 worth of tier 8 stone. Now on to the next spot. If you stayed into the video this long, consider subscribing because not only does it support me, but it allows you to stay up to date with all of my content and not miss a single moment of my journey to becoming the #1 gatherer on the entire server. Arriving at the large stone spot, I'm hoping to find not just stone, but also wood available. And lo and behold, I did. With 98% carry weight, I'm definitely going to have to switch to my boots. With less than a minute left on my pie, as soon as that ends, I am going to go way overweight. So, I'm going to pop another pie now, and we unfortunately will not be able to run it all the way through. Unfortunately, I did not bring a third chocolate egg. So now we're gaining 15% less fame. But on a tier 8 tree, we're still gaining a lot of fame. Just one tier 8 tree was able to get us 265,000. Imagine if we were to find a second or possibly a third one. Back to less than 4% carry capacity remaining, I may have to start making sacrifices. And that may look like tier 4 ore, or tier 5 ore, or maybe even 4.1 fiber. Now, unfortunately, the nodes take so very long to gather, so this opens us up to a considerable amount of risk, and I'll have to be eagle-eyed to avoid getting ganked. Now, for anybody wondering why I didn't use my gathering pots. The answer is very simple. I forgot I had them. Now, these 20 of this tier 7 will definitely bring me over carry capacity. So in order to avoid absolutely crawling back to the portal, I'm going to have to sacrifice carry weight from other stacks. With one last lap to make sure I don't miss anything of value. And we find 2 doubled mobs. Unfortunate that that decided to respawn right now. Now this has to be the last thing I gather, or else I will run out of things that are cheap enough for me to dispose of. So my only option is to gather this and run straight to the Brazilian portal in order to exit. Thankfully, this more than makes up for the value that I lost in the tier 5 ore. And with just less than 1% to spare, I have to get out of here. And thankfully, I made it. Now that I'm safe and sound back in Brazilian, I will be able to depot the tools, the gathering pots, and any unused journals in order to get an accurate estimate of how much money I made during this run. As well as subtracting my current fame from the fame that I had when I started this run, we'll be able to find out just how much fame I made in this hour and roughly 15 minutes. So by putting the tools, the pots, and unused journals away, we're able to calculate that this run brought us in over 3 million silver. So with a 3 million silver profit, let's see exactly how much fame we made. So starting fame was 18,716,314, and our ending fame is now 18,796,540, which says that we brought in roughly about 80,000. So let me pull up my calculator, and we'll do an exact calculation. So we have 18,796,544 minus the other number was 18,716,314. 18,716,314. That means we made, as I said, 80,230 fame this hour. Now, just shy of 100,000 fame in the hour does not seem like a bad number, but I feel like we can do better, and I think it'll come from getting my spec up. So thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to follow along with this amazing journey of becoming #1 in gathering fame on the server. We've got quite a ways to go. But again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.